Hello, and welcome back to WildWater ASMR. So today, I thought, for a video, I would show you my crystal collection, and use this brush just to dust some of them off, because I haven't looked at them for quite a while. So as a bit of a backstory, when I was younger, I was absolutely in love with crystals. I really adored the feeling of walking into a shop and being met with tables full of tumbled stones. And I'd walk through and I'd read all about each and every crystal. And each visit to this shop, I would choose a crystal that I'd like, and I'd go home with it. And so over the years, I managed to collect a small amount of crystals, which I now keep in a box in my cupboard. I used to have them out on display, but I revamped my room a bit, and so now there's not so much room for them on the shelves. However, I do like to look at them every now and then, because they are nice. And yeah, so I thought I'd show you through them. So first off, I think I want to show you the first ever set of stones that I got. So this is opalite. Now this is a man-made stone. It's I think it gets its name because it's got a similar shine of colours to opal when light's in it. I think you can see it a bit there. Anyway, it's a man-made stone, but it was the first one I ever got, and it's funny because my best friend at the time had one of these as his first stone, I think. And I really, really liked it. And so, me, being the kid that I was, had to get one just like his. Anyway, so this was my very first stone, and I'm very proud of it. Next up, I think in that same set, like in the same visit to the shop, I got this here, which is onyx, and it also happens to be one of my birthstones. So it's very dark in colour. So I don't know what drew me to it, because at the time I didn't know that it was one of my birthstones. I found that out later when I was reading a book on crystals, but I think I liked the look of it. It felt nice to hold, and so I chose it. So, there we go. It's just got kind of a triangle shape, this one. Now, next up, I think the third stone I ever got was this small cluster of amethyst here. Now this was actually quite cool because it's pretty much my first stone, and the only stone that I had for quite a while that wasn't tumbled. It's of course a small cluster. But the thing about this, like, you'd think it would be really expensive, but the thing I love is that it really wasn't. It's still quite cheap for what you get. This one is quite dusty because I did have this out on my shelf for a while, and I made sure to keep it away from too much light because, in case you didn't know, I think I'm right when I say this. I haven't read these books for quite a long time, but amethyst can fade if it's in too much light. So anyway, there we go. That's, I think, as clean as I'm going to get it. Yeah, that was sitting out on my shelf, and because of the structure of the cluster, it's, over the years, accumulated quite a bit in all the cracks and crevices. So next up, we have something called a blue tiger's eye. Now, it doesn't look very blue, it looks quite black. But I assure you, that is what it's called. Now, originally I thought tiger's eye only came in the regular tiger's eye colours. But as I came to find out when I started getting into crystals, there are a whole bunch of variations. Like, for instance, I think a very commonly known one is there's normal quartz, then there's rose quartz, and smoky quartz, etc. There's a whole bunch of quartz variations. And so the same goes with things like tiger's eye. And that one doesn't collect too much dust. It's mainly fingerprints. And I'm never going to get all of them off unless I'm wearing white gloves. So, along here now, I want to show you a quartz point. Now this, I think I got from the same shop that I got the rest of these that we've seen so far. I think I got it there. And I liked this because inside it's not all clear. Inside it has a whole bunch of patterns and fault lines, which appealed to me at the time. And yeah, just drew me to it and chose it. It's just amazing the selection in these shops. I think everybody should visit them at some point or another. Pardon the pun. But yeah, there's just so many crystals out in one place. Next up, while we're on the topic of quartz, this is something a little bit different. And I'm not going to even bother dusting this because it is a cluster much more complex than the amethyst cluster. This is just dozens and dozens of tiny little quartz points all together in this little cluster. And I got this while I was on holiday interstate. And this was actually in a jeweller's shop. And I got it when I was quite young. Again, I think I was about 10 or 11. And I don't know, I just saw it in the window. And Mum was already going into this shop because she is a massive fan of jewellery. And so she was in looking at the jewellery for quite a long time. And I think she felt guilty because of that. And I was being very patient, and she noticed that I was very interested in this piece of quartz, and so she ended up getting it for me, which I was very happy about because I think it's one of my favourite souvenirs from that trip. The rest of the souvenirs we got, because we visited a lavender farm, and so the rest of them were used up fairly quickly. They're all like bath soaks, and like back balm, foot rubs, things like that. And we made quick use of those. Alright. So this next stone here is very red. And I've always wondered exactly what it is, because we got it from a little tumbled stone dispenser at a museum. And so it wasn't labelled, it was just you put in like $2 and you get a tumbled stone. And so I got this tumbled stone here, and I reckon by the colour it's jasper, but I really wouldn't know for sure. Very happy with it though. I think I put my money in and I was hoping I'd get a turquoise, but I ended up getting a jasper and I was perfectly happy with that. Well, I think it's a jasper. Speaking of jasper, later on I actually did get a jasper stone, which I know is jasper for sure, because I got it from the same shop that I got most of the other stones from. And it was in the jasper section. So I mean, I hope it's jasper. I trust them. But again, it appealed to me that day, and up until then, I had mainly like dark coloured stones and quartz, and so something red was definitely needed. Now, turquoise. This one here I got in... Ooh, where did I get this? I think I got this in kind of a local town that's a bit of a tourist attraction. And much like that quartz cluster, I think it was in a jewellery shop that Mum was looking in. And I took fancy to this, and this time I actually asked for the stone. Yeah, I was always interested in turquoise, but I just never really got one up until that point. But I'm glad I did, because it's a very unique stone, with all those little golden fault lines throughout, and its bright colour. Next up, I have this little bowl, just a colourful ceramic bowl, and inside is a little river stone. But this river stone has a line through it. It's nothing too special, but I got it from my uncle's place. And I don't know, I guess the line through it drew him to pick it up and take it home. And so when I saw it, I thought I might as well keep it. It's more sentimental than anything. Next up, I have something that looks like it could be a river stone, but I assure you, it isn't. This is a labradorite palm stone. Now, I actually got this one earlier this year, I reckon, and I'd always heard about labradorite. Spelt like the dog breed, and so that's kind of what drew me to it. But I was in this same tourist town, and they'd turned the town hall into a crystal market, and we were just visiting because it's a nice place to visit, and we saw this sign saying crystal market, and so we thought, we might as well go and have a look. And I'm glad we did, because all throughout there, it was, I kid you not, it was like that shop that I went to as a kid. But it was an entire town hall, just filled with tables full of crystals, jewellery, fossils. There were some fossils and they were quite nice. And then up the front of the hall, on the stage, there was a collection of, mainly amethyst caves. And so in case you don't know what they are, they're like rocks that have been cut in half, and then inside it's all like this amethyst cluster, but it's lining the entire roof and the wall and the floor of this hollowed out area, and they're absolutely beautiful. They would break the bank if you were to buy one, but they do look nice. Yeah, this labradorite here, it's a palm stone, and up until now I just had small stones, like little points or tumbled stones. This one here, they call it a palm stone because, of course, it fits well in the palm. And so sometimes when I'm having trouble calming down or getting to sleep, what I do, I hold this in my hand, and it gives me something to focus on. I can focus on the weight of it and the feel of it in my hand, and it helps me to calm down and sleep. So it's quite handy. It also, I found, tends to retain heat, so if you've been holding it for a while, or if it's under the blankets and you've got an electric blanket on, it actually warms up, and you can use it as a bit of a massage stone on your back, which is pretty cool. So we're coming down to the end of our collection very soon. Now we just have a few small stones to show you. Now this one here is a green stone. I don't know where I got it or what it is. I think it might have been from my grandmother's place, or part of my mum's collection. I really don't know. But it's a really, really tiny, small green stone. And I'll show you a photo, but it's got amazing green patterns all throughout. Next up we have this, which I believe is a citrine, but I could be wrong. Now this here, I, again, don't remember where I got it. I think it might have been out of another museum Tumblr thing. But it is really nice and small. Now the thing about citrine is you're not allowed to get it very wet because it can dissolve. So I thought that's quite a cool thing. Unless, of course, you get it wet and then your investment has just vanished. I almost misplaced this. This here is a regular tiger's eye. And they call it so because it looks a little bit like a tiger's eye, with patterns inside, and when you move it in the light, it changes a bit like at the moment it looks a bit like a pupil dilating. So that's pretty awesome. Now next up is this. Now I found this in a geocache. I'm not sure if you've ever heard of that before, but it's like a scavenger hunt where you use a GPS to find little hidden containers. And if they're big enough, some of them have stuff inside them that you can trade. And so you take something, you leave something of equal or greater value. And inside one of these containers, I found this. A little tumbled stone. Now, up until today, I actually had no idea what type of stone it was. And I had a bit of a look in a book, and it matches in appearance most closely to hematite, but I could be very wrong. And I'm not sure if I pronounced that correctly either. Now, we're coming down to the last item of the collection. In here is a little bracelet of my mother's that she had when she was younger, and when I was younger, she gave this to me. Now, I've never worn it, but I do like to have it in my little collection of crystals because it looks really, really nice. So from the looks of things, we've got some clear quartz, some amethyst. I've got a blue stone, which I'm not sure what type it is because there's a lot of blue stones. Again with this green stone. Now, this could be citrine, but it could be a lot of other things as well. Same with this. But this, I think, again, is hematite because it's kind of grey and metallic looking, quite shiny. So, I thank you all very much for watching this video, and I hope you got some enjoyment out of it. So thank you so much for watching, and thank you as well for the fast growing subscriber count and all your kind comments. Bye bye.